सम्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः। नमः ॐ विष्णुपदाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमद् भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिति नामिने। नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषा शून्यवादी पश्चादेशतारिणे। मुखं करोति वाचालं पङ्गुं लङ्घते गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे श्रीगुरुदीनतारिणं परमानन्दं माधवम्। Hare Krishna. So we were discussing the the process of creation, or the secondary creation by Brahma. And in the previous verses, we had seen Brahma taking birth and appearing on the top of the flower, the lotus flower. And initially, not understanding his purpose, he looks around, gets four heads, travels down the stalk of the lotus flower, trying to determine its origin, is unable to do so. Then he reaches back and he concentrates his mind and performs tapa, or austerity, on the concentrating his mind on the Supreme Lord. So we will resume from verse 22 of the 8th chapter, 3rd canto. Kalena sajaha purushya shabhi pravratyogena virudbodaha swayam tadantarhridaya avabhatam apashatapasyata yanna purvam. At the end of Brahma's 100 years, when his meditation was complete, he developed the required knowledge, and as a result, he could see in his heart the Supreme within himself, whom he could not see before with the greatest endeavor. So Brahma, inspired by his previous impressions, samskars, swabhav, inspired by the tapa that was spoken to him, engages in meditation for 100 years. And he develops the intelligence to see the Lord within his own heart. So earlier on, he was traveling everywhere, but failing. But now he sees the illustrious and the beautiful Lord, who was lying like a mountain of green coral on Sheshnag. And the subsequent verses have very beautiful description of the form of the Lord, comparing it with different beautiful objects. So pleased with Brahma, we will see that the Lord has already begun to reciprocate. The first reciprocation is that he is allowing himself to be seen. So how long did Brahma meditate for? The term that is used in the verse is Purusha Yusha. So Purush means person, and Ayusha means the life of the person. So Srila Prabhupada contextually translates this to the life of Brahma. So which is why he says Brahma's 100 years. Vishwanath Chakravarti, he opines that because Maitreya was talking to Vidur at the onset of the age of Kali, the Purush refers to the humans in the age of Kali, and Ayu refers to their lifespans, which means that he meditated for 100 solar years. So this is just Acharya Mat. It does not substantially change the purport. Brahma meditated for a certain period of time. In Krama Sandarbha, Jiva Goswami also interprets the Purusha Ayusha to be 100 of the human beings, life of the humans in the age of Kali. But then he also says that later on in this very canto, in the third canto, in the 10th chapter, it will be mentioned that Brahma engaged in penances for 100 celestial years, which is the years of the demigods, which is 360,000 of human years. And then in the second canto, 9th chapter, it is mentioned that Brahma, he underwent penances for 1,000 years by the calculation of the demigods. So whether he meditated for 100 human years or 100 celestial years or 1,000 celestial years or 100 of his own years, the point that is being made is that there may be different details that we are not aware of. Like Jiva Goswami says that his meditation in the Brahmakalpa, or the first day, the duration of his meditation in Brahmakalpa is different from the duration of the meditation at subsequent subcreations. And then we have also noticed that Maitreya has commingled the first creation with subsequent creations. So he talks about the birth of Brahma, but then he also talks about the Lord sleeping for 1,000 yuga cycles, during which the universe was partially devastated and Brahma was sleeping, which is essentially talking about subsequent creations. So for whatever reason the acharyas do this, the understanding is that the focus should be more so on the message. Bhakti Siddhanta, when he would be asked about this, he would say kalpabhed, that different kalpas, so that he would do more to explain slight differences in pastimes. Sometimes in the pastime a certain detail is given, sometimes a different detail is given. Vara is sometimes white, Shweta sometimes he's Rakta, he's red. Similarly, in the pastimes of the slaying of Shishupal, sometimes it's Shishupal who is the devotee of Krishna, sometimes the Shishupal is actually a demon. So these are kalpabheds. Now Brahma himself is of course the master of the kalpas, but one can extrapolate that understanding to see, to understand this. Okay, next verse, 23. Mrinala Gorayatya Sheshabhoga Prayanka Ekam Purusham Shayanam Fanata Patra Yukta Murdaratna Dyubhirahat Dvanta Yugantatoye. Brahma could see that on the water there was a gigantic lotus-like white bedstead, the body of Sheshanag, on which the personality of Godhead was lying alone. The whole atmosphere was illuminated by the rays of the jewels bedecking the hood of Sheshanag. And that illumination dissipated all the darkness of those regions. So in 10 verses from 32 to 23 to 32, Sukadeva Goswami, or rather at this point Maitreya, will describe the vision of Brahma within his own heart, which is that of Garbhodakshay Vishnu. So we see Brahma observing Lord Vishnu lying on Anantashesh. And the numerous hoods of Anantashesh are bedecked with jewels. And because at this time there are no planets, the sun has not been created, so there is darkness everywhere. But the effulgence of these jewels, they are dissipating the illumination. They are dissipating the darkness and spreading the illumination. Sorry. Verse 24. Preksham kshipantam haritopaladrehe sandhyar baniver urukro ururukmamurdhanaha ratno dadarushadi somanasya vanasrajuveno bhujangripangrehe. The luster of the transcendental body of the Lord mocked the beauty of the Coral Mountains. The Coral Mountain is very beautifully dressed by the evening sky, but the yellow dress of the Lord mocked its beauty. There is gold on the summit of the Lord, but the Lord's helmet, bedecked with jewels, mocked it. The mountains, waterfall, herbs, etc., with a panorama of flowers, seem like garlands. But the Lord's gigantic body and his hands and legs, decorated with jewels, pearls, tulsi leaves, and flower garlands, mock the scene of the mountain. So in a poetic way, Maitreya is describing the vision of Brahma. And then later on we'll see that, so all the subsequent verses, the 10 verses, they will describe using analogies. And then later on we'll see why these analogies are used, because it is impossible for us to perceive the form and the beauty of the Lord. So in order to describe the Lord's beauty, Lord Brahma and the various acharyas, they compare to that which we have seen. So like Krishna's color is described as the color of the monsoon cloud, because we don't have experience seeing Krishna, but we have experience seeing the cloud. Or Krishna's eyes are described like lotus petals. But factually, Krishna's form is nothing, is incomparable. These are just mnemonics that are given for us to perceive based on our own limited conception. But actually, Krishna's beauty far, far exceeds all this. Next verse, 25. Ayamato vistrita swamana Dehena loka traya sangrahena vichitra divya bharanam shukhanam krita shriya pashritaha veshadeham. His transcendental body, unlimited in length and breadth, occupied the three planetary systems, upper, middle, and lower. His body was self-illuminated by unparalleled dress and variegatedness and was properly ornamented. Now, again, the same point is made that uh, at this point, there are no three planetary systems. There are obviously no coral mountains. There's no jewels. But this is basically literary license that the acharyas and the authors are doing as a mnemonic for us to understand. So the understanding is that Krishna was pervading the entire space of existence. Prabhupada says that the length and breadth of the transcendental body of the Supreme Personality of Godhead could only be measured by his own measurement, because he is all pervading throughout the complete cosmic manifestation. So Prabhupada is making this point that if Krishna's body was pervading the entire creation, then it should be there on every planet, which means we should also see the body. And the understanding is that because the body is transcendental, it can be only seen with transcendental eyes. Verse 26. Pumsham swakamaya viviktamarge abhyachatam kama dugangripadmam pradarsayantam kripyanakhendu mayuk binanguli charupatram. The Lord showed his lotus feet by raising them. His lotus feet are the source of all awards achieved by devotional service free from material contamination. Such awards are for those who worship him in pure devotion. The splendor of the transcendental rays from his moon-like toenails and fingernails appeared like the petals of a flower. So the Lord has many thousands of feet that are the shelter of those who approach him with various conceptions. Brahma approached him in bhakti, and the Lord reciprocated. And so the phrase Pumsham Swakamaya refers to, so Kamaya is desires, Swa is the self, and Pumsham is the person. So desires of the self. And it also means desires to see the Lord. And so Swa then refers to Lord, and Pumsham is people. So desires of the people to see the Lord or to serve the Lord. So Vivikta Marga refers to the path that is unmixed with anything other than bhakti. So Marga means path, and Vivikta means unmixed. So it is essentially pointing to pure devotional service. So the Lord reveals himself to the desires of those who are practicing pure devotional service by revealing himself. And the revelation of these lotus feet fulfills the desires. So Kama Dukkha. So they fulfill all the desires, which means that this is what they want. The pure devotees of the Lord, nothing else. Um, 3 verses 26, 27 and 28, they have a little bit of a guhyam or a confidential aspect also. Srila Prabhupada also hints in his commentary. So the verses, the general flow of the verses here are describing Garbhodaksha Vishnu. We see that he's lying on Ananta Shesh, and later on we'll see that Brahma sees the lotus flower. So they're pointing to Garbhodaksha Vishnu. But these 3 verses indicate that Brahma also had a darshan of Krishna. So the word revealing 1 foot, Vishwanath Chakravarti comments that it means that when Krishna stands in the Tribhangi posture, his right foot is pushed on the toe, and the sole of the right foot is revealed for his devotees. So we also had this discussion when Uddhava was describing the final pastimes of Krishna, where he described Krishna as sitting with his right leg crossed over his left. And the same point was made that Krishna especially reveals his right foot for his devotees, because on the left of Krishna is Radharani. So is Bhakti, which is where the devotees reside. And Krishna, he mercifully shows them his right foot. Prabhupada in the purport, he says that according to the Gopal Tapani Upanishad, the Lord showed one of the many thousands of petals of his lotus feet. It is said, Brahmano asav anavartam midhyata stuta paradante so buddhyata gopavesho me purastat evar bhuva. After penetrating for millions of years, Lord Brahma could understand the transcendental form of the Lord as Sri Krishna in the dress of a cowherd boy. And thus he recorded his experience in the Brahma Samhita, in the famous prayers, Govindam Adi Purusham Tamam Bhajami. Srila Prabhupada is also indicating in this purport that Lord Brahma actually also had a vision. So he obviously saw Garbhodaksha Vishnu, but he also had a vision of Lord Krishna in the Tribhangi posture, displaying his lotus feet. Okay, we will do one more verse, and then after that we can stop for any discussion. Mukhena lokarti harasmitena pares purat kundalo manditena shonayitena dhar bimbabhasa pratyar vayantan sunashena subarva. He also acknowledged the service of the devotees and vanquished their distress by his beautiful smile. The reflection of his face, decorated with earrings, was so pleasing because it dazzled with the rays from his lips and the beauty of his nose and eyebrows. So the Lord reciprocates with the worship of his devotees by revealing himself. So he revealed his lotus feet in the previous verse, and he is revealing his beautiful face. So this is also the way that we take darshan of the deities. Just like Brahma is taking darshan of the Lord, that he first takes darshan of the lotus feet, and then, even though here it's not mentioned, but then the understanding is you work your way upwards. Take darshan of the knees and the waist and the chest, and then the lotus face. The smile of Krishna is being glorified, smitena, and so it is a full smile. Smitena means a happy smile. It's not the the indication of a smile. It's not the the shadow of a smile, but it is smitena. Smitena means that it is a full smile. So the acharyas, they analyze different kind of smiles. That there is a smile that appears, but it is still not fully manifested. And then there is a smile that is fully manifested, but does not reveal the teeth. It's the stretching of the lips. And then there is the prahasan. The prahasan is when a person laughs. So the teeth is revealed at the time. So this is smitena. There is a beautiful smile decorating the face of Krishna. And then subhrava. So subhrava means one eyebrow. And this again points to the fact that this is the form of Krishna, Swayam Bhagavan. So subhrava actually indicates a confidential gesture from an eyebrow. So it's like the arching of the eyebrows in a confidential way to indicate there is a secret or to indicate a special relationship. So the subhrava is also considered as an indication that Brahma also was able to see the personal form of the Lord. So there is a transcendental competition between the Lord and his devotees. Because the devotees want nothing but service of Krishna, Krishna is never able to reciprocate sufficiently. So he offers them bhakti, they refuse. He offers them mukti, they refuse. They already have bhakti. So Krishna becomes their debtor. So he gives them the one thing that makes them happy, which is the darshan of his mitena, of his ever enchanting smile. And that's where the transcendental competition comes in. That the devotees are never satisfied enough by seeing the smiling face of the Lord. And every time they see the face of the Lord, they become enlivened. And when the devotees are enlivened, the Lord becomes enlivened. And so he smiles at them. And then they become enlivened. And the Lord becomes even more enlivened. So there is this cycle of reciprocation of service and acknowledgement that is continuously going on between the Lord and his devotees and pleasing to both of them. So Prabhupada says that the devotional service to the Lord is very much obliging to him. So there are many transcendentalists in different fields, but devotional service to the Lord is unique. So the other transcendentalists, even though they have no material desires, they have spiritual desires. But the pure devotees of the Lord, their only desire is to serve the Lord. Prabhupada says even the most desirable liberation is refused by the devotees, although offered by the Lord. So Krishna becomes a debtor. And he repays them with his ever-enchanting smile. Okay. Let me do one more verse, because this really does not have a purport. Kadamba Kinjalka Yashangavasasa Swalankratan Mekhalyanitambe Arena Chantanta Dhanena Vatsa Srivatsavakshaha Stala Valabhena. Oh, my dear Vidur, the Lord's waist was covered with yellow cloth, resembling the saffron dust of the Kadamba flower, and it was encircled by a well-decorated belt. His chest was decorated with the Shivatsa marking and a necklace of unlimited value. So this is a third of the verse that has a confidential purport that Lord Brahma also had the darshan of Krishna. So earlier on, when Lord Vishnu was being described, it showed that his body, it occupied the entire universe. Here Brahma is saying that he was wearing his waist was encircled by a well-decorated belt. So they're all sankets, they're all indications. Now Lord Vishnu could have also and does also have a belt, but the nature of these descriptions are all sankets or indications of the personal darshan, the darshan of the personal form of Krishna, Swayam Bhagwan. Okay, I'll stop here and see if there is any comments.
So Prabhuji, it means that like when the Lord is smiling, he is like happy. Is that is that, and when or he's pleased? Can we
Yes.
take that as a
Yes. If you see the smiling face of the Lord, there's some devotees who take that as an index of the Lord accepting the service. So when they see the smile on the face of the deity, or they see the smile on the face of, if they're fortunate enough, of the Lord, they understand that somehow they have pleased the Lord. Okay. Any other thoughts, comments?
Prabhu, this Hare Krishna Prabhu, this Shivashta marking, what is this like exactly? Do you know?
It's considered to be a representation of Lakshmi Devi. It's a golden line that runs on the chest of the Lord, and it represents the presence of Lakshmi Devi.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Prabhu.
Just a thought, Prabhuji, that every time, like, when we glorify anyone, we always glorify with something bigger than what they are. Like, you are like Indra, like that. But only in the case of Lord, we always glorify with something which is inferior to him, and still Lord is always pleased. Uh, he only sees our mood.
That is true. That is true. Because he's the standard for everything. So if we glorify him, then he's glorified with something that is below him. And most importantly for us, the glorification is because we get a sense of appreciation. Right? So the point that is made is that we can't imagine the form of Krishna, the purely spiritual form of Krishna. We can't imagine his beauty, but we get clues through these comparisons. Okay.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. One small clarification, actually not a question. In text 22, we said that for Brahma it took like 100 celestial years or 1,000 celestial years in other texts, right? So to see the vision or to experience the Lord in his heart.
Mhm.
So in this Kali, you also referred that something about Jiva Goswami, but more. But also we see in many lectures or the pure devotees can see, visualize the Lord in their own heart. So how do you reconcile that? Like, is it like due to Kali we are trying to say that it is a pure devotee status can be achieved by within so and so, or?
So the question is that why did it take Brahma whatever time? Why did it take him that time to be able to see Krishna?
No, my question is, it's not a question actually, it's a clarification. We do see pure devotees, we hear, right? They can see the Lord, even not only pure, like if we really have that kind of a bhakti, we do experience, right? Whether it is seeing the deities or whatever we do as a devotional service. I do notice that. So how do you reconcile that? Like Brahma seeing a Krishna's form completely, is that what we see? Which is the devotees or pure devotees, what they see within their heart, is it is not complete or partial. Is that what?
I see what you mean. Um, so it depends on the merit. So you're talking about pure devotees, right? So obviously those who are yogis, they would see the Paramatma form of the Lord. But yes, and the ones who are pure devotees, they would see the personal form of Krishna. And yeah, it's later on in the verse it will be mentioned that nobody sees Krishna. Krishna reveals himself. And so it's not that Brahma, after 100 years or 1,000 years, he developed some like special siddhis by which he could see Krishna. But the word anukampa will be used to show that all it did was attract the mercy of the Lord, and thus the Lord revealed his form. So the point you're making is correct, that yes, that the reason that the devotees are able to see the Lord is because of their ability to attract the mercy of the Lord.
Thank you.
Okay, so there are no more questions. We can go to the next verse, 29. Most of these verses are very either no purports or short purports. Verse 29. Praradhyakeyo Mani Praveka Trayastadurdanda Sahasrasakam Avyaktamulan Bhuvan Garipendram Ahindra Bhoge Advitavalsham. As a sandalwood tree is decorated with fragrant flowers and branches, the Lord's body was decorated with valuable jewels and pearls. He was the self-situated tree, the Lord of all others in the universe. As a sandalwood tree is covered by many snakes, the Lord's body was also covered by the hoods of Ananta. Srila Prabhupada mentioned that the word avyakta moolam is very significant. So avyakta moolam means the root, and avyakta means unable to discern. So he says that no one can generally see the root of a tree if it is very big and large. And the reason avyakta moolam is relevant to the Lord, because he is the root of himself. And there is no other separate cause of his standing but he himself. So Krishna is called Swa Ashraya in the Vedas. He is his own support. So Avyakta means that and the Supreme Lord himself and nobody else. So previously the comparison of the beauty of the Lord was with the coral mountain, and that was more of a literal comparison. Like just like the coral mountain is covered by beautiful falls, there were garlands on the body of Lord Vishnu. Now it's being compared to a sandalwood tree, but in a different way. It is more in terms of the nature of the relationship of the tree with its different components. So it says that just like the tree is self-situated, the Lord is self-situated. Just like the tree is covered with many snakes, this is more of a one-to-one comparison. But we'll see later on that the comparison becomes more symbolic. And again, the idea is to, while describing the beauty of the Lord, Brahma is also describing the beauty of the position of the Lord. So here he says that just like the tree is self-situated, Krishna is avyakta. He is also his own shelter. Okay, verse 30. Taracharoko Bhagavan Mahidram Ahindra Bandhun Salilopagudam Kirita Sahasra Hiranya Shangam Avir Bhavat Kastubarat Nagarbam. Like a great mountain, the Lord stands as the abode for all moving and non-moving living entities. He is the friend of the snakes because Lord Ananta is his friend. As a mountain has thousands of golden peaks, so the Lord was seen with thousands of golden helmets, hoods of the Anantanag. And as a mountain is sometimes filled with jewels, so was his transcendental body. So also his transcendental body was fully decorated with valuable jewels. As a mountain is sometimes submerged in the ocean water, so the Lord is sometimes submerged in the water of devastation. And so in these three verses, we see different aspects of the Lord compared with different material things that we can relate to. So in verse 24, the coral mountains are compared to the luster of the Lord. The evening sky to his yellowish garments. The golden summit to the helmet bedecked with jewels. And the mountains with waterfall and herbs, etc., to his limbs with ornaments, tulsi and garlands. Then in verse 29, we see the comparison with the sandalwood tree. That the fragrant flowers and branches are like the valuable jewels and pearls on his arms. And the self-situated tree, whose root cannot be seen, is compared to the fact that Krishna is his own shelter. And then the fact that the sandalwood tree is glorified as the king of all trees is compared to the fact that Krishna is the protector of everything. And covered by many snakes is compared to the sandalwood is covered by many snakes, is compared with the many hoods of Ananta that cover the Lord. Then 30 again, there's a comparison with the mountain, this verse, that the mountain gives shelter to all the creatures. And the Lord gives shelter to all moving and non-moving entities. The mountain is the friend of all snakes, and the Lord is the friend of Ananta. And the 1,000 peaks of the mountains are like the 1,000 golden helmeted hoods of Ananta. And just like a mountain is sometimes submerged in the ocean, the Lord is sometimes submerged in the water of devastation. So actually I made a table of this. I'll send this to you. I'll send this to Prem Kishore Prabhu. Verse 31. Nivitamamnaya madhuvrat shriya swakirtimaya vanamalaya harim surendyuvaiva agnya agmam tridambihi parikrama pradhanine parikram paradhinike durasadam. Lord Brahma, thus looking upon the Lord in the shape of a mountain, concluded that he was Hari, the personality of Godhead. He saw that the garland of flowers on his chest glorified him with Vedic wisdom in sweet songs and looked very beautiful. He was protected by the Sudarshan wheel for fighting, and even the sun, moon, air, fire, etc. could not have access to him. So Vishnu Chakravarti here makes this point that we were discussing earlier, that Vidur may ask Maitreya, what's with all these analogies that you're describing in such an indirect way? And the reason is explained over here, that Durasadam, that the Lord is very difficult to reach or comprehend. So the acharyas, they take shelter of these sankets, these indirect things. It does not mean that now we understand the Lord. We understand that his body is like a mountain, and then we understand that he has the flowers. But we have a sense of the understanding, and that's what the analogies do. So Suryendu Vayu Agnya Agaman, that the sun, moon, fire, etc. cannot understand him. So even exalted devas cannot understand him. What hope is there for humans? So they take shelter of these comparisons. Then it says that he was protected by the Sudarshan Chakra. And then one may ask that if the Lord is all powerful, why does he need to be protected? And the answer is he does not. But it is a service that has been given to reciprocate with a jiva's desire to serve the Lord in a particular mood. So just like we all in our perfected form have a service to Krishna. Now it does not mean that Krishna is lacking that service, because that would negate the understanding that Krishna is Atmaram, that is fully self-sufficient. But yet he takes service from us, and he takes that only for reciprocating with our love, with our desire. So sometimes small children, when they're sitting on the table, then they'll make a small something, maybe a drawing on the paper or something like that, and they'll give it to the parents, and the parents are very, very happy. They will keep it with them. They will take it to their workplace and put it over there. And if you look at it, it's an awkwardly drawn sketch. You don't really know what it is all about. But then you look at the parents and you see that they're so happy. So it's not that they need it, that they were lacking it, but their happiness comes because of the service that somebody that they cherish has done, and it's a reciprocation to that. So that is the mood in which then the Lord is saying that I need protection from the Sudarshan Chakra. I need protection from gods like Jay and Vijay. They are simply the recipients of the Lord's mercy. Okay, next verse, 32. Taryeva tanabhisara sarojam atmanam ambaha swashanam viyacha dadarsha devo jagato vidata nataha param lok visarga drishtihi. When Lord Brahma, the maker of the universal destination, thus saw the Lord, he simultaneously glanced over creation. Lord Brahma saw the lake in Lord Vishnu's navel and the lotus flower, as well as the devastating water, the drying air, and the sky, all became visible to him. So Brahma saw the lotus in Vishnu's navel. Now he was within the lotus, which means that he saw it by the mercy of the Lord. And then he sees the three elements, Amba, Swashanam, Viyat. So he sees water, air, and sky all around him. He did not see earth or fire. He did not see anything else to assist in his creation. Nata Param. Now here again we see that there's a commingling of the two pastimes. So when Brahma is seeing the devastating water and the drying air, it is pointing to a prior devastation where Brahma is now going to reconstruct. But we also noticed that the previous descriptions were more relevant to Brahma taking birth. So I'm not clear, and the acharyas have not clarified that why did Maitreya decide to commingle these two, but he did. So Brahma's quest is now he is driven by his inherent desires, and his desire is to create. So all that is becoming visible to him. He's looking at it from the perspective of how can I use it to create. Okay, next verse, which is the last verse in this chapter. Sakarma bijam rajas paraktaha prajashishrakshan yadeva drishva astod visarga vikastamidyam avyaktavartamanye abhiveshatatma. Lord Brahma, thus being surcharged with the more of passion, became inclined to create. And after seeing the 5 causes of creation indicated by the personality of Godhead, he began to offer his respectful prayers on the path of the creative mentality. So the 5 causes of the creation is elaborated as the lotus flower, Brahma himself, the water, air, and ether. So Brahma, by his previous samskars, as we were discussing, is surcharged with a desire to create. He's thinking, how shall I create? And the answer is that by once again surrendering to the Lord. So abhiveshita atma. So he concentrated his mind on avyakta vartamani, on the Supreme Lord, for the purpose of visarga. So the next chapter will talk about the prayers of Brahma to allow him to create. So Srila Prabhupada says that even if one is in the material mode of passion, to create something in the world, he has to take shelter of the Supreme for the necessary energy. That is the path of the successful termination of any attempt. So Prabhupada is glorifying Brahma. The people in the mode of passion, they tend to think that I'm the creator. And Brahma, even though he is in that mode, but because of his spiritual maturity, he understands that any creation that he will do will be only possible by the empowerment of the Lord. Okay, so before I start with the 9th chapter, I can pause here and see if there is any comments.
Prajit, Brahmaji's body is made up of intelligence, right? And then and because intelligence is primarily in the mode of passion, that's why Lord Brahma is his primary mode passion, or was he just surcharged with this mode of passion for the service of creation?
I actually have never thought about it that way. So so where is it said that the intelligence is primarily in the mode of passion?
I think mind is goodness, right? Mind is goodness, and intelligence, although it is higher than the mind. I mean, that's what I heard, that it is in passion, or it's lower than mind. That's what I remember. And I remember that mind is goodness. Uh, so that's how I was referring
So
to
the
that.
mind is in the mode of goodness, the intelligence in the mode of passion, and then the ego is in the mode of ignorance.
Ego, I'm not sure. I remember mind and intelligence.
I think in the universal material creation at that time, one from the modes when these things are derived, in, I even in my notes I have written like that. What she's telling is, it is not. I'm not sure to say that mind is in mode of goodness, but it is a product of mode of goodness. And when the universal creation from Mahatattva and three modes and like that. I can refer the notes.
So in the universal creation, um, so ahankar is in the mode of ignorance, and then ahankar in the mode of goodness, the secondary mode of goodness, it produces chit. It does not say mind or intelligence. It just says the ability to think. Then in the mode of passion, it creates the kriya shakti. So there's a chit shakti, the kriya shakti, and the dravya shakti. Right? But I don't believe that it divides the
Actually, Prabhuji, it is written that products or derivatives of false ego in different modes. From mode of goodness, ahankar, comes mind and demigods, and mode of passion, ahankar, comes intelligence and prana, and 5 knowledge acquiring senses and 5 working senses. And mode of ignorance, ahankar, comes 5 subtle elements and 5 gross elements. So they are all derivatives of actually ahankar, Prabhuji. Ahankar in different modes is these things.
Mm, mm, mm. So, so that's interesting. I guess I don't know the answer to your question. So your question initially was that because the intelligence is in a mode of passion and Brahma is predominantly considered to be the personification of intelligence, is that why he's in the mode of passion, or conversely, is that why intelligence is considered to be the mode of passion? I don't know the answer to the question.
And Prabhuji, is it really possible for Brahma to be actually in mode of passion, Prabhuji? Because he is a Brahmana, first Brahmana. Brahmana means he is in the mode of goodness and he is the originator for all the Brahmanas. Maybe he is doing that activity, but
So one of the understandings that we have been given here is that he is the controller of that mode. So just like Shiv is considered to be the mode of ignorance, and he's also the highest Vaishnav, and Lord Vishnu is in the mode of goodness, but he is transcendental. So it just means that they are controlling that mode.
Okay, thank you, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
I will, Prabhu.
Just a comment on that point. I was reading the Brihat Bhagavatamrit, and in one of Gopi Paranadhana's commentary, he mentioned that Brahma's body is primarily made of the element, the subtle element, mind. So I don't know. I was just I have the Brihat Bhagavatamrit here, but I'm not able to pick the reference up. Maybe next time I'll pick it up. But I'm certain I saw it like that. So I really don't know. Just like our body is earth, water, fire, air, and then the subtle body is mind, intelligence, and ego. But Brahma's body is very, very subtle, primarily mind. He said in one of the commentary, but I'm not able to pick the reference like that. So just a little comment.
Thank you, Prabhu. Okay, any other thoughts? So we can continue with the 9th chapter of the 3rd canto, which is titled Brahma's Prayers for Creative Energy. So the previous chapter ended with Brahma having the wonderful darshan of the Lord, and by the Lord's mercy, seeing the various elements of creation that are there. So this is very similar if we think back to the Sarga, that when Karnodaksha Vishnu, he created the universe, and then the elemental devas, they entered the universe, and then they saw all the elements that are there that are necessary for the creation, but they're unable to create. So then we have the prayers from the devas to Lord Vishnu, requesting Lord Vishnu to empower them with the creative impetus to create the universe. The same thing is happening in Visarga. The Brahma is seeing everything that is there. So that point is made to emphasize the total dependence of the whether it is the devas or Brahma on the Lord. Because if there was some element that was missing, then one could make the case that the ingredients were incomplete. Otherwise, Brahma would have created the universe. But it's emphasized that all the ingredients were there and Brahma was there. So the only thing that was missing was the mercy of the Lord. So this chapter, Brahma's Prayers for Creative Energy, is a reflection of this tattva. It's divided broadly into 2 parts. In the first 28 verses are the prayers of Lord Brahma. And his prayers begin by the glorification of the Lord. And because he realizes the purpose of the creation of this universe, which is, so he's like a person who's constructing a jail now. What's the purpose of the jail? It's for the prisoners to come and live in, people who are averse to the law and order. So we see in him this sense of sorrow for the conditioned souls, that he's building this cage for them. He includes himself also with humility, but essentially he expresses his sorrow at the predicament of the conditioned souls. But right after that, he says that this prison house that I'm building also has doors that can be opened. So right after that, he glorifies Krishna's mercy on various devotees. So this is not This is not a one-way jail that a person goes in and spends the rest of eternity there, but it has doors that can be opened. Then Lord Brahma will offer obeisances to the various manifestations of Krishna. So he is glorifying Krishna's constant endeavor to emancipate the conditioned souls. So he's acknowledging the fact that these souls who are going to be coming into this universe are averse to you. And I have this unfortunate duty to hold them in this universe. But you are so kind that you have built doors on this prison house. And not only that, you will personally come over and over again to help them. So after establishing the basis, the philosophical basis, and then Brahma, who is essentially an engineer, Lord Brahma would say he's an engineer by heart. So Lord Brahma then specifically asks for the ability to create the universe. But he is also cautious because he knows that being a product of the modes himself, he can get infested with pride and ego. So while he's praying for this ability to create, more importantly, he's praying for protection from contamination. Because otherwise there is no point in him doing the service if it takes it away, if it takes him away from Krishna. So that's the first half. In the second half, we will see the reciprocation or the response by the Lord, where he will outline the easy path back to him, both for the specific case of Brahma that you are asking, and by the easy process of penance and devotion, you will be able to see everything in relation to me. So by that, he addresses Brahma's fear that he might be contaminated by pride and ego. He said, as long as you follow this path of penance and devotion, you will see everything in relation to me and be protected from pride and ego. And then he offers benedictions to Brahma to create. And the chapter ends with Krishna building a door for the universe again. So initially Brahma had mentioned it notionally. In the end of the chapter, Krishna, he establishes the process to get out of this prison house. So this is the broad outline of the chapter. We'll now continue with the first verse. Brahmavacha gyatosi medya suchirannanudeha bhaja na gyayate bhagvato gatirithyavadyam dhanyatvadasti bhagavan apitanna shuddham maya gunagatikkarad yadurur vibhasi. Lord Brahma said, "O my Lord, today, after many, many years of penance, I have come to know about you. Oh, how unfortunate the embodied living entities are that they are unable to know your personality. My Lord, you are the only knowable object because there is nothing supreme beyond you. If there is anything supposedly superior to you, it is not the absolute. You exist as the supreme by exhibiting the creative energy of matter. So in 5 verses, we will see the prayers that Brahma renders to the Lord. And we see over here that he begins by glorifying Krishna's position as absolute, which cannot be discerned by empirical observation or mental speculation. So he makes this point that you are the only knowable object, and if there is something supposedly superior to you. So here he is pointing to the desires of the conditioned jiva, that for them there will be other things which are relative that will be supposedly superior to the Lord. And then he says how unfortunate the embodied living beings are, that they cannot know you. So how can one know? Brahma says that only by your causeless mercy. So Prabhupada says, just as Lord Brahma was able to see, not because he meditated for a long time or because he had some special Shakti, but because of the causeless mercy of the Lord. So similarly, others can only see the Lord by his own mercy. And then Prabhupada makes the third point, that those who are wise, they follow the path of the swans that go to the transparent lake of lotus flowers. And others who are foolish, they remain engrossed in matter, just like the crows, delighting in refuse. Okay, next verse. Rupanyate dad avabodharasodayena shashvan vritatamasaha sad anugraya adau grihitam avatar satek bijam yanna vipadma bhavanadaham avirasham. The form which I see is eternally freed from material contamination and is advented to show mercy to the devotees as a manifestation of internal potency. This incarnation is the origin of many other incarnations. And I am born from the lotus flower grown from your navel home. So one may say that Lord Brahma is material. He is within a material universe. So what is to say that the form that he is seeing is also not material? So Brahma is addressing these implicit concerns by his saying that the form is eternal and devoid of Maya, Tamasa. So this also means that those who are contaminated by Maya are unable to see the form. So he answers the other implicit concern that if Brahma sees the form, then why can't we see it? So maybe Brahma was having a delusional vision. Maybe Brahma was lying. So he's saying that this form is eternal, which means that even though it's there in the material world, it is not material. And because it is not material, it cannot be seen by material eyes. So those who aspire, now we don't have that ability, but there are living entities in higher planets who have the ability to, who have different Shaktis. And they have the ability to travel everywhere and see. The yogis have those Shaktis. So why can't they see the Lord? Because the form is not material. So Brahma is saying the only reason that I can see it, even though I am material, the only reason that I can see it is Sat Anugraya. So Sat Anugraya is because of the causeless mercy. So previous chapter we were saying that Brahma did not see the form. Brahma was shown the form. So Krishna reserves the right to reveal himself. And that right is exercised when his anugraya, when his mercy is evoked by devotion. Brahma also uses the word grihitam. So grihitam means to take on. And the acharyas say that grihitam cannot mean that the Lord took on this form at some time. So Sridhar Swami says that grihitam can be understood to mean that the form appeared at some time, even though it existed eternally. So just for the sake of a reference, if we say that the Vedas appeared, even though the Vedas are eternal, or we say that the Jivas appeared, even though the Jivas are eternal. So the same way Grihitam is used. And Jiva Goswami in the Sandarbha says that Grihitam means that the form was manifested to the vision. So it was there all the time, but Grihitam means that by his anugraya, the form became manifested. So Brahma clarifies that avabodha rasodayena. So avabodha rasodayena means the chit shakti. So the form is existing eternally under the influence of the Lord's avabodh rasodayena. So Prabhupada here in the purport writes that tamasa is material nature and the spiritual nature is separate from tamaha. That is why the spiritual nature is called avabodh rasa. So avarod means that which completely nullifies. So in the transcendence, there is no chance of material contact by any means. Brahma is the first living being and therefore he mentions his birth from the lotus flower generated from the abdomen of Garbhodakshai Vishnu. Okay, so we'll do one more verse and after that we can pause. Nata param param yad bhavata svarupam anandamatram avikalpam avidyavarchaha pashyami vishvasrajam ekam avisham atman bhutendriyatmak madasta upashrito asmi. O my Lord, I do not see a form superior to your present form of eternal bliss and knowledge. In your impersonal Brahman effulgence, in the spiritual sky, there is no occasional change and no deterioration of internal potency. I surrender unto you, because whereas I'm proud of my material body and senses, your lordship is the cause of the cosmic manifestation, and yet you are untouched by matter. So this is Brahma's glorification of the Lord's personal form over the impersonal Brahman, and distinct from matter. So he's saying there is matter, there is impersonal Brahman, and then there is the Lord's spiritual form. And then with humility, he puts himself at the bottom of the food chain, saying that I have a material form that is contaminated with pride. So some may say that the original form of the Lord is Brahman, without the qualities, not the form that Brahma is seeing, which has a form. So Brahma is negating the conception over here. So he's saying that Parama, O Supreme Lord, that I do not see this form as different from your form of Brahman, which is Avikalpam, which has no qualities. So firstly, he is saying that they are the same. Then he goes on to say that the personal form is Ananda Matram, which means that it is full of bliss, which means that it has something that the Brahman does not have, which means that the personal form includes the Brahman and not the other way around. And because the personal form includes the Brahman, the effulgence of the Brahman is also there in the personal form of the Lord. So he says that your effulgence is all pervading. That effulgence is the Brahman. So he's establishing this relationship. So in the Harivamsha Puran, the Lord tells Arjun, O Bharat, the Supreme Brahman lights up the whole universe. You should know that is my condensed light. And Brahma, as a devotee, he is clearly stating his preference for the personal form. So he says that I take shelter of Ekam Te. Ekam Te is that one form of yours, Vishwa Srijam, who created the universe. So he's saying that I take shelter of you, Lord Vishnu. And when Brahma says Vishwa Srijam, so Krishna might say that you are the one who creates the universe, Brahma. So Brahma responds to it and he says that how can I create the universe? Because I am the same as the universe. The universe is material and I am material. The universe is invested by the modes. He says, I am Madaha. I am also mad because I am invested with the modes. So there has to be a distinction between the creator and the created. The creator should be at a different level. So that's what Brahma is saying. That how can I create the universe? Because the universe is material, I am material. Universe is invested with ego, I am invested with ego. But then he says that Avishwam, that you are different. You are completely spiritual. So actually, you are the one who creates the universe. I am simply given this service by your empowerment. Okay, I'll stop over here. So we are almost at time. If somebody has any comments or questions. Okay, if not, we'll end here. Vanchakalpatarubhayascha kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Anant Koti Vaishnav Vrinda ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Thai Gaur Premanand. Hari Hari.
Hare
Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much.